Get funky in the place. Get funky in the place. This pathetic dope addicts have to be abused. It's a shame, what a thing to be a prostitute. Life is given to us just to do the right thing. Instead of that, we came a whole wall with big dope fiend. Make you feel real bad every time I see another bum. Oh, brother sleeping on the street, in the corner, in the morning, every night and day. It's a pity, so admitted, people try to act gay. Everybody's turning crazy, so you better believe to do the right things, or soon you'll see. Life ain't no more a joke, it's a serious thing when you're dealing with the answers that you can't explain. New York City is a place of mysteries. Drug addicts, dope dealers taking over the street. That mayor's always saying, why the hell do we pay for what? Well, they break the laws and get a couple of days. No sense trying to help, it's really no use. Think the world's messing up, let me tell you the truth. Hard rocks trying to pop with no respect. Niggas waiting at the station for the big paycheck. Homeboys going vacant on Thursday night. Girls waiting in the house for Mr. Right. Kids going to school just to be a fool. Never wanna learn to work just to go to our computer. It's the funky beat, and it's the funky beat, and it's the funk, and it's the funky beat. Yeah.
This is the mellow they call the rail well. The rocks so with the rhythm that a shock can spell. When the shake up kick that wakes you up in the morning, gotta rate with the rhythm like a number one groaning. MC quick just to make your peanut butter. Shock with the rhythm, I'm a number one undercover. Bring it up, just shake it up, rodeo. Bring it up, just shake it up, rodeo. I'm the melody down with the funky sound that can make you break with my diamonds to the crown, just so making you dip like a little bit of dive, like a practice, so making you hide. Rock on to the break of dawn, just freak out, yeah, baby, just freak out, yeah, baby. Like a little jelly bean, I'm a sweet like a candy cane to make you get down. This is number one stain on the train, just moving like a stage jaw, just bring it up, yeah, yeah. Stage jaw, like a roller coaster ride, that can make you bump. Just grooving with the rhythm as you shake your rump. You got the rock, you don't stop. The baby, yo, you got it now, rocker, you don't stop. Just hip hop today, Dale Doobie-Doo. Yeah, Scooby-Doo, what you wanna do, crew? Just freak out, yeah, baby. Just freak up, yeah, baby. Drink it up here, I don't mind, dear. I can rock you out this atmosphere like a gangster prankster. Number one bankster got the much cash to make you think you rock on until the break of dawn, break of dawn. Keep it on, I know ZZ that can rock quick. I like the iconoclast, hand your rhythm to the stick. Just rock on like a finger lick. Finger popping, hop popping, don't stop. Bunny rock, you don't stop. That long fingernail at the end of my tip of my pinky cocaine, make it slip on my lip. Just make you freak when the panty wetty with flip. Rock a little pat to the dapple, making my hip shake, rock, body rock, a hip and a hop. Like a RPMs, my nose don't care about the rhythm that breaks, because the music is down that when your body wants to shake. Got a hip hop a little baby dog, get down, let the rock, just shock your tone, just break it up, shake it up, yeah baby, cause the groove just rocks like a little shady, just shade it up with the classes, or make it on with the serious pattern. Get the melody quick, yep, the melody sound, now to rock it quick, with the number one crowd. I can get up on the groove that make you shake now, cause the beat from the depths of hell make you get down. Rock on to the beat, freak it on with that kid unique. You just check it out, check it out. I said I broke into a Dustinville, yeah, and then I shot across top of how I went to chill, yeah, break it up, Cyrus Hill, shake it up with the writings on the wall. So don't give a fuck, just damn it up. Rock on, you don't stop, jam it up. Rock on, you don't stop. The beat boys, rock on, you don't stop. Freak it on, break down, don't stop. From the depths of hell, rock well, Romeo, rock on to the beat. Yeah, candy cane, get your neck rockin' so sweet, cause I'm a jam up, hip hop, I'm making the tip top. Shake on the break down the needle of the eye, and grooving with the rhythm of the break of the sky. Rock
deeper in the heart, drinking OE brew. Never wanna go to school with that that's a fact. So all of a sudden you got left back. Now you're feeling real low and mighty hurt, and your friends are snapping on you like you're a jerk. Now things are hard and you're feeling depressed, and your mind can't function cause you can't pass the test. You're saying to yourself, what can I do? I can't go home, I might as well quit school. Jobs are hard to find, everybody knows, and you can't do crime cause you're on parole. No education is a big disgrace, and so you might as well work at the sanitation. Can you get my drift? Get funky in the place.
I know the man that gets with the deal, that rocks like the pimps, the ass real. He can get real ill when you're on the chill. I like the quarter drop a dime that can make it
Say
get the
what?
thrill. Master killer called the evil gorilla, yes, the best in the nation, yeah, number one thriller. I'm the best cut, I'm rocking with the duck, making with the conceal. A shock, you don't quit, you don't quit.
Say what?
Rockin', don't stop the bebop, the rockin'. You don't quit, turn it up, y'all. With the serious shit, you're shaking on, rockin' on and on, break it on, keep it on, break it on.
Get on.
Get on,
Get on.
get up,
Get up.
I like a rodeo, big duck. I like a DD, the hoppin' with the BP, king on the mic. I like a mic controller, seeking on the freak. I like a little deep. You rockin' hard with Kid Judy. I like this show, Patty Duga. Don't stop, Patty Duga play down, not hitting the top. I bring a rock, grandmaster hip and showing up, shocking out. Check it out, you don't stop.
Get funky in the place. Get funky in the place. What? All the time that you spent hanging out with your friends, you never took the effort to see what's happening. Crime, can't get it off my mind, cause it's a thing we have to face all the damn time. People always say, why do they break the laws? I'm gonna tell you right now, it's cause of all of y'all. Fast and go like your bowl, I'm gonna let it be told. It doesn't matter to a D if you're young or old. Just money they want and they need it bad. And to take another person life, it makes them feel glad. So rock to the funky beat. Yeah, ain't another that you heard yet. Rockin' better on the radio set. And if you did, please tell me now. All the others rockin' better in town. Had to say, don't front on me. And if you do, it's only jealousy. All the ladies, G-Money. All the homeboys, G-Money. Money making, rock on it. Money making, rock on it. Boogie down in, rock on it. Room LC, rock on it.
You know the groove that can make you get down with the funky moves.
Say what?
Now when I get down to the funky check rock, you know, cause the rhythm just makes you bet you cash you like a 3-card money. All I wanna do is just rock the beat, on it, and with the jam. Now with the dive like a pick in your pocket, with the dick on the slide. But the cap get 38, shooting real straight, cause I'm down like a double dip. I re-manipulating on that beat, Grandmaster make a move, make you with the rhythm when I shoot to the boo-boo. Rocking on like a tutti frutti boo-boo. You know, when I went to school, I went to the depths of hell, to the darkest, deepest corner, rocking all the women, shocking with the order. All the upper double deaf, a magical man. I like a dip star, prank star, deafin' with the damn, def jam, y'all. I like a beat boy making with the freak, a beat boy making with the freak. Shoot it up, y'all, yeah. Shoot it up, y'all, yeah. I'll break it down, yeah, baby. Break it down, yeah, baby. Slipping the dope, yeah, they're taking the yoke. I like a little old homeboy shooting with the choke, yeah, making with the sneaker, rocking like a easer. MC quick, just a number one pleaser. Shooting like an uptown pimp on the check. When I step out my ride, I can hit the deck. Rock on to the break of dawn. Rock on till the break of dawn. 728.
What's the move? Well, I was coming from school, it was 3 o'clock. Had the money in my pocket, broke to the last drop. I had no way of getting home. I was really messed up cause I was all alone. I felt real sick and very confused, and my heart was pumping fast, I think it was the view. And my legs felt weak and I couldn't walk. Got pains in my chest when I tried to talk. Said, oh God, it had to happen happen to me. Give me a chance to straighten up and get J.O.B. Cause I'm a type of person who likes to play. And at the time I had a drink and got carried away. You know, everybody once made a mistake. It's not too late to straighten up, so give me a break. I go to church to do my work instead of being a jerk. As a doctor or a lawyer, even desk clerk. Whatever you say, I must do. Cause you're the one and only, and I just you.
Good evening. I hope you enjoyed the images and the music this evening, which sets the backdrop for our conversation. I'm Adam Weinberg, Alice Pratt Brown Director of the Whitney Museum of American Art. It's a pleasure to welcome you this evening to a conversation with writer and historian Tom Dyja about his new book, New York, New York, New York, 4 Decades of Success, Excess, and Transformation. In this monumental urban history, Dyja gives a sweeping and immersive account of the policymaking, personalities, economics, politics, and the arts that have shaped the evolution of New York, America's largest city, from the 1970s to the present, from Koch to Bloomberg. For those of us who have lived in the city during this time, the number of seismic shifts that the city has experienced is absolutely astonishing. And Dyja's book offers us a synthetic perspective from which to make sense of this period of metamorphosis. This volume leads to important questions, especially as we are ready to elect our 110th mayor of the city of New York. And it'll be interesting to see what the next phase of New York will look like in the aftermath of pandemic and Black Lives Matter. This book is exhaustively researched and told with verve. Indeed, it reads like a novel as it follows the complexities of New York's transformation over the last 40 years. Tom is a brilliant, commanding, and colorful writer who addresses the decrepitude of the 1970s, the painful turmoil of AIDS crisis, the dot-com excesses of the 90s, the shock of 9/11, the reimagination of the Bloomberg era, as described in the chapter of his book called Oz Wasn't Built in a Day, as well as the challenges facing New York in the present. The protagonists of the story are myriad, and they include famous and infamous, rich and poor, artists, bankers, hipsters, immigrants, and community organizers. Tom is the master of the zinger, and such as his description, for example, of Andy Warhol in his late phase in the 1980s. Quote, he'd gotten his wish. The lines between art, celebrity, and wealth were being erased and had overwhelmed meaning. But in the last few years, he'd shown flashes of conscience. I wish someone great would come along in public life, said Andy Warhol. Or his description of Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani built his career on the belief that everyone was a sinner somehow. You just had to catch them at it. I am really thrilled that Tom accepted our invitation to this conversation at the Whitney, because this period in New York City has been a fertile and complex one for artists and art and culture. They have an increasingly visible and powerful role to play in the identity of New York City. The relationship of arts to commerce, power, class, branding have never perhaps been so influential since the Medicis in the 15th century. The Whitney is part of this cultural story, both as an institution committed to supporting contemporary artists and also to our local arts community, and in our evolution during this period, literally from the Upper East Side to Meatpacking District. Now, as New York is emerging from the lockdown of the last year, here at the Whitney, we are preparing to unveil a new public sculpture by the artist David Hammons along the Hudson River. The work is called Day's End, an homage to a work by the same name of the artist Gordon Motta Clark, which was made in the 1970s by cutting into an old pier shed that once stood along Gansevoort Street. Hammond's sculpture evokes that history of New York in the 1970s, the abandoned city that became a laboratory for artists, as Tom makes explicit, with as well as many other histories that are embedded in the site. But it is also a work about future-oriented, one that I hope makes us reconsider the notion of civic space, public ownership, what a public artwork can be at this moment, when monuments are falling and New York must and will reinvent itself. Tonight, we'll pay particular attention to one key aspect of the book, arts and culture in the evolution of New York, from Soho, Schnabel, and the Times Square show to the 1993 Whitney Biennial and the cultural wars to the rise of Chelsea and Williamsburg. For those who are new to Tom Dyja, Tom worked in publishing for over a decade before becoming a writer. Along with editing 4 anthologies, he's the author of 3 novels, including Play for a Kingdom, Walter White, The Dilemma of Black Identity in America, and the New York Times notable book, The Third Coast, When Chicago Built the American Dream. Now, with New York Times 3, he has written an essential addition to the pantheon of New York histories, as Kurt Anderson has said, alongside E.B. White's Here is New York, Jane Jacobs' The Death and Life of Great American Cities, Robert Caro's The Power Broker, and Luc Son's Low Life. And according to Kevin Baker in his review of New York, which he wrote in the New York Times, what Daija has produced is a tour de force, a work of astonishing breadth and depth that encompasses seminal changes in New York's government and economy, along with deep dives into hip hop, the AIDS crisis, the visual arts, housing, architecture, and finance. I would like to welcome to the screen Tom Daija. Thank you.
There I am.
Dun, 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 dun. Terrific. We're
Thank you.
off and running.
Thank you for such a kind and fulsome introduction, Adam.
You know I specialize in fulsome, Tom.
That's
So we're going to start with a few general questions just to frame for the audience the story behind the story here. Why did you choose to write this book? You had just come off a book on Chicago.
right.
And I'm curious how you settled on the parameters once you decided that New York was the subject from 1978 to 2013.
Well, I moved to New York in 1980, which was sort of the very beginning of, 2 years into the Koch years. And it was still very much getting out of the fiscal crisis. And there was a real divide there. And then when I started the book in 2013 was the end of the Bloomberg years. And it felt like there was a real an era there that was a sort of defined period when the things we thought about New York as being this liberal bastion of the workers' paradise, this giving place, had been very altered. It had been in a very dark place, and it had risen in so many ways. And at that point in 2013, I think I was not alone in looking around and saying, this is all really terrific, but it's also really awful as well. And at the moment, we were having, I think, a lot of very divided conversations, very binary looks at things, good and bad. These things are good or bad. And having lived in the city all that time, it was very clear that a lot of these touch button issues were a lot more complicated. And so I wanted to get down to really look at the changes, the reality of the changes, the things that had started with very good intentions in the early 80s and late 90s that were weaponized, say, under Giuliani, of kind of how we use public space and what it's for. So I wanted to find the people, the events, the kind of ideas that were really responsible for these evolutions of the city over this time, because it was the same city, but it kept getting different fundamentally. You recognize it, but it would still be a very different place if you came back to it.
Well, the book is structured on what I term, and I'm sure you did as well, the four Re's.
Right.
Renaissance, reconsideration, reformation, and reimagination. And can you talk a little bit about your 4 Re's and the cycles?
Right. I mean, I think the first two kind of get lumped together, and I could even throw in a few more, like retrenchment, which was the very beginning of the Koch years, was that period of severe austerity. But at a certain moment, things kind of kick in, I think, with the kind of resurgence of Wall Street. And the city really does, for a lot of reasons, find a new pride in itself. It's sort of been knocked down, it dusts itself off, and Koch leads this kind of reconsideration and renaissance of what can happen there. And some of it is the flood of money that comes in. Some of it on a kind of city hall level is a generation of young people who look to really make the city effective in a way that it hadn't been for a long time. And those people stay throughout the next 40 years. And then the money comes in, and Koch sort of the need to pay attention so hard goes away. And the city finds itself under Dinkins in a lot of the same problems it had started the decade with in terms of crime. But now you have the addition of AIDS, you have the addition of crack, and the kind of peak of crime that happens. So there's a kind of sense for a lot of people that was all the past. And the fact is that Koch period had its ups and downs going on there. So Giuliani comes in, and that's a kind of reformation. And I mean that in a very, Savonarola kind of way. There really is a sense of finding who are the good people and finding the sinners and making them pay. But it's also a sense of, we talk about Times Square being Disneyfied, but the whole period under Giuliani was a kind of retro period in a way. And we see that, we'll talk about that maybe with art, is that there was, we stopped kind of pushing forward in a lot of ways. And the whole city became kind of Disneyfied to itself and looks in the lens a lot. And then after 9/11 is the Bloomberg period, which is really a reimagination. Whatever one makes of Bloomberg, and there are every angle you can come to, there are good and bad, but there was an attempt to reimagine what the city could do and take into account technology and bring ideas that had existed under Koch and even before to Lindsay and pull them into the world and bring some of them to pass. And I think that's one of the things to really, is worth congratulating about him.
Now, the title of the book comes from Holly White, the great urbanist sociologist who wrote the book, The Organization Man.
Right.
And I guess the question he was asked was, what are your favorite 3 cities? And he said,
New York, New York, New York. So it seemed natural.
And White is sort of, his name comes up quite often in the book. He seems to be a bit of a hero. And I just wonder if you might reflect on why White?
I mean, for a number of reasons, he was someone who was kind of the godfather, one of the godfathers of what we call the Back to the City movement. While during white flight, during suburbanization, during the kind of growth of sprawl in urban America, he was saying we need to get back to the city centers. And he was one of many people who did that, along with Jane Jacobs, who he helped guide towards, or he kind of affected a relationship with her and the Rockefellers that helped underwrite Death and Life of Great American Cities. So in that sense, he, at a larger kind of idea level, helped push people back into cities in a thought level. But in New York, he also participated on a very granular level. And was, I think his idea is that New York depends on people. That streets full of people are what will bring the city back, and that's what it needs to come back. So when we talk about outdoor dining, when we talk about Bryant Park being kind of reopened and rethought to bring people in, these are all very much Holly White ideas about how do we use and make public space a place where people come together to celebrate the city and do the action that is what urban life is.
Mm-hmm. And that actually, it brings me to a quote that you have in the book from the writer Samuel Delany. And the quote is, "Life is at its most rewarding, productive, and pleasant when large numbers of people understand, appreciate," and the key phrases here are coming up, "and seek interclass connection and communication conducted in a moment of goodwill." Can you talk about that interclass connection and moment of goodwill, and as it relates to commonplace civilization?
Right. Well, it's kind of ironic because Samuel Delany is actually writing about gay sex in Times Square in this quote. So it was one of the many ways that there are a lot of different places where this could happen in New York. And the phrase commonplace civilization is one that Adam Gopnik came up with when he was writing about Frederick Law Olmsted. And Olmsted, like White, was someone who was a great inspiration to people like Gordon Davis, who was Koch's parks commissioner, in looking at public space, and particularly parks, as a place where we come together and kind of celebrate, and not just celebrate, but act out democracy. Under people like Thomas Hoving, who had been parks commissioner back, the sense of public space in the parks was, let's get people in the parks and let them do whatever they want to them, which was great on a certain level, but there wasn't the sense of attention paid to caring for the parks, and there wasn't a sense of responsibility. There was, they were kind of free-for-alls, and the parks were destroyed that way. And so that idea of we can be together, we can enjoy the city, but we have to take responsibility for it. It's okay to set some expectations of behavior here, but within those expectations, we get to have a city. And I think Davis and a number of other people kind of took that idea and helped build a sense where we weren't all fighting each other. I think when I moved here, for a lot of people, it was you survived the day. New York was a place you kind of survived, and it was one of the quotes that just stuck out that I used in the beginning of the book was a young guy telling the New York Times, you know, you don't really feel you can make anything better, so you just sort of do what you can to make it worse. And that was a feeling that people had, you know, like, it's New York, I can do whatever I want. And it didn't have to be that way. You could have the challenge of the diversity, the conflict, the creation, without making life a living hell for people. And I think these were ideas that kind of moved us towards that.
I think one of the things you do really well throughout the book, Tom, is the tension and the great benefits of, as Delaney says, of interclass connection. And in a way, maybe that's a good link to jump into arts and culture, because you know, in a way, culture, art and arts is a place of cultural mixing. It's a place as much as parks are in many ways. And you know, you in the book, you trace a number of different nodes that are somewhat geographical, but there are places of mixing and of culture and of interclass and interracial, you know, one being the 7 Mile World, one being Times Square as exemplified by the Times Square show, another one, for example, being the East Village, and then perhaps more questionably, most recently, Chelsea. And that would be interesting. So if you could talk a little bit about the kind of how the shifting art communities and the sense of geography have redefined New York.
Right. Well, I mean, I'll even start with one before that, which is Soho itself, which is a real sense of you know, I wanted to do a book that kind of created the connections between money, between policy, between art, to show that you can't talk about these things without really taking them all into account. So when you look at Soho, you have, you know, the Village has always been a place downtown where people, where artists have been, but there was this, Robert Moses wanted to clear out this vast portion to build the Lower Manhattan Expressway. And so the owners of lofts and factories in that area kind of let them go to seed. They figured they were going to get their eminent domain check eventually,
right?
And so they let them do whatever they were going to do, and they
ran for the hills, ran for the suburbs.
right. So you know, and so you had the Fluxus people come in and start little law, and so that happened. And then when Lomex doesn't happen, basically they cashed in, and Soho creates a kind of an idea of lifestyle, I think, that became something that started to jump around the city. And when we talk about gentrification, it's not just for something from Soho. There was all
yuppies and the invention of yuppies.
Right, but it was a part of it. You know, this idea of consumerism, of living with your bare brick walls. You know, there was a kind of idea of what life in New York was that I think got a lot of fuel out of Soho. The other three you kind of started with the 7 Mile World, which is a phrase that belongs very much to Jeff Chang, who's a great scholar of hip hop. Was that kind of world of early hip hop in the Bronx, which was just grew up from, you know, Kool Herc on Sedgwick to Africa Bambaataa in East Bronx. They're up there, and you have downtown, you have the scene that's kind of bubbling up there, and the Times Square show kind of in 1980 really is this great introduction of the two of them. And one of the things that's so fascinating about it is that it's so many things come together there, and so many people are introduced to each other, uptown and downtown, that I think it's you know, it's not the Big Bang, but you know, it is the place where Herring and Basquiat are first seen. You know, it is a kind of explosion point, I think, for so many things that come after, and it's worth, you know, it's a place that deserves a plaque, because I think it really is historical for the city.
Can you talk a little bit about the kind of, you know, uptown, downtown, and also it's also, you know, it's also a kind of again, it's back to the kind of interracial connection that you find. Right. You know, you have the whole hip hop culture, you know, basically originating in places Bronx and Queens, and yet the kind of hydraulic and the dynamic. And I'd be curious, you know, who are the figures that come out of the 7 Mile art world that you think of as being the most influential and most enduring?
Well, it was sewn together by a lot of different people. You know, there was Fab Five Freddy and, you know, Lee Quinona is the kind of original in the whole body of graffiti artists who came out of basically the gang wars of the 70s, who discovered that actually they had a great talent. And the idea of using this art just to define turf became something greater, and they kind of formed their own secret society. What everyone makes of graffiti art those early years, before it became kind of tagging every inside of a car, it was an incredibly generative and interesting active performance art that was happening all the time. So that world was happening. You know, that world of the hip hop world was there was the dance element of it, the visual arts element of it, the music element. There were all these different parts that really formed a complete culture, and that people like Afrika Bambaataa started to use as a transition away from a much more violent culture that many parts of the city were involved in. So that was a beginning up there. And then you have people like John Ahern, the artist who goes up there and with Rigoberto Torres begins doing these wonderful works of plaster cast, representing, creating, again, cooperatively. It's one of the wonderful examples of kind of performance art, but community art, because they'd put up the big plaster cast on the side of a building in the South Bronx and invite people over, and kind of with a group would form and they would create a plaster cast, and eventually it became the South Bronx Hall of Fame, which is just a wonderful kind of snapshot of there. So you had that kind of interaction. And his brother, Charlie Ahern, made the wonderful movie Wild Style, which I think is kind of the Rosetta Stone of hip hop and capturing that. And Charlie's wife is Jane Dixon, who is another terrific member. They were part of Collab, one of the many collaborative art groups that were in the Village. And Jane is, I think, most famous for her work in capturing Times Square, because they, as much as we talk of them as being downtown, we're living in Times Square. So she had those rich, kind of captured the last days of Times Square with these dark, velvety blacks and heavy, bright, saturated colors that just get that darkness of the night, but the loudness of the neon and the loneliness and the violence of it. And they were able to really, among other people, I just think of them as being central to kind of yoking these parts of the world together, and really letting things bloom from there.
I mean, these kind of, tensions and dynamics. I mean, I think in some ways, if you look at graffiti art, and I mean, first of all, just the tension alone with that, there are these people, there's a whole group of people who are really excited about it, and you just feel the energy coming from it, and how it morphs into various kinds of things. Obviously, that's also illegal, and people are calling it crime. But then you have, I mean, I find it interesting. This is also the period when you have Richard Serra's Tilted Arc,
right?
Which is eventually removed and put in storage in in an outdoor pen outside.
Right.
So you have graffiti art on one hand, and then you have quote unquote high art with Richard Serra, which is then,
right.
I think that exemplifies some of these kind of crazy tensions.
Right, and in between you had Keith Haring, who was kind of who had enough. He got arrested enough to, I think, have graffiti cred. He was doing that, because when you think of real serious graffiti that's not on the walls of Sidney Janis Gallery, where it tended to not do well, it needs the energy to be out in the world. He was able to, I think, bridge both worlds of that, and ask some questions about what public art can be. I mean, the Serra was as much an intrusion on a space as an intervention on a space. And it was a public art. It's fascinating to look at kind of how public art and its role in the city grows from.
And you do a great job of that, by the way, in the book. I mean,
Thank
that's
you.
one of the threads you can follow all the way through, is the relationship of public art to public discourse.
I mean, the city becomes aware in the 70s, kind of during the fiscal crisis, of just how everybody's counting pennies and trying to find out where the money is. And it turns out that the arts actually provided a huge amount of money to the city. And so under Abe Beame, there's a much more City Hall starts to really support the arts. And, you have people like Doris Friedman, who leads the charge for Percent for Art in the city, where every new city development needs to put aside some money, so there'll be public art there. Creative Time and the Public Art Fund come about and are very much with the support. And the fact is, the Times Square show had city grants. It was a bunch of people putting together a show, but they also got public support for it, because there was a sense that this was part of what New York was about. It needed to support the arts. It needed this kind of thing to happen. And you see that kind of move over time. And obviously it comes back to a great peak with Bloomberg. But, you know, Koch was in a position where he supported this stuff. He was supportive of Doris Friedman and cultural things, but they were also the first on the chopping block. Yeah. And so, you know, he really did feel that, how can I support the arts when there are hungry people, which is an interesting existential question, right? And so he felt that this is where the wealthy should be stepping in, and that this is where philanthropy, the high rollers in corporate America should be helping to pay for this stuff. And there is.
I'll ask you, I'm going to ask you. I'll cut you off for a second. Because, no, I want to save the philanthropy because but I think it's critical because how the money,
right,
the politics, the money, and the culture all wind together, braid together is another. There are four visual arts figures who are sort of the figures who infiltrate the whole book.
Right.
And there's Warhol, who you refer to as the Godfather, and I guess the quote is "the Sphinx with no secrets," which I love.
That was Truman Capote. I'm not stealing his lines. Yeah.
You know something? You're not only good at making up your own singers, you're great at stealing others. Then there's Keith Haring, who himself wrote in his notebook, "The public has a right to art." I'm summing them all up in a phrase.
Right,
Basquiat, who said in his writings, "It's time to go and come back as a drifter." And then there's Jeff Koons, which you more or less said, bringing the suburbs back to the city. So if you could just say a word about how, each one of those figures had a kind of, what they brought to the New York conversation. You can't talk about, each one is an evening or a month in itself. But.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Warhol was the conversation for such a long time. I mean, after he died, Haring was quoted saying, "How will we know what's cool anymore?" And that was, I mean, there was that sense that if he showed up, he was, this now was an event. There was a kind of blessing that he gave. And that sense of not really knowing how serious anything is, and I mean, in my more gimlet approach, I would say it's cynical, but others might find that it kind of caught that shape-shifting aspect of the arts where you just don't know how serious something is and how seriously we should take it. And so yeah, I think it was actually Kenny Sharp who said he was the godfather of us all at that point. And I think people, everyone was informed by that, somewhat oppositional, but he's also doing paintings of Pia Zadora and Imelda Marcos. What do we make of that? And I think that kind of set a certain tone for the way the arts were in saying one thing and maybe and kind of doing something else. Haring I came to like more and more and more, even working on it. I mean, I was around for those days of wearing my little dog button, and I've talked to many people, surprisingly, who said, I really thought about tearing one of those posters down in the subway, and nobody ever did, though. I mean, no one that I know, because I think we all realized how, in that moment when riding the subway was really pretty awful, that they were kind of, somebody was trying to say hello. There was a meaningful kind of someone trying to rise through all that muck and communicate. And I think people really appreciated it and respected it and enjoyed it. And he had his moment, I think, of celebrity saturation. But I do think there's a lot more, a lot of it holds up, I do think, and I think his heart was in the right place by the end. And the work he did, when you look at the work he did leading up to the subway work, you see that he didn't just decide to start drawing on things. It's really based on a kind of language of signs and things like that I think he greatly earned. Basquiat, to me, kind of sums up the village and downtown in that moment, which was incredibly explosive and remarkably creative. I think it's the city coming to terms with its Afro-Atlantic, the importance of Afro-Atlantic culture. And he's really somebody whose exploring of that was not, I think, credited then in any way. I think there was that sense of him being an exotic to a large degree. And I think we're ready now to look at some of that art and really understand it in much better terms than we did then, when critics would write about his shows in this kind of like, oh, he can paint kind of way, which is shocking to read now. So I think, but he couldn't, the money, the fame of it, and his own pain, I think, exploded ultimately. And Jeff Koons, who is someone else who I like him, you know, I mean, I like the stuff. I gotta
How
say,
can you not?
how could you
It
not? I
makes you
mean,
happy.
there's a wonder to it. You know, he kind of exemplifies. When I talked to Paula Cooper, she said there was this moment when the artists and the buyers were dressing alike, and she realized that that was a moment when it kind of crossed a certain line. And he exemplified that. You know, he was not ashamed of making money. He was not ashamed of and is not, you know, obviously, but he still kept the wonder to it. And there is this kind of weird juxtaposition against Warhol, where one is all about cynicism, and Koons is kind of like, you know, the Plato thing, kind of fabulous, you know, and if you're kind of mad about that, yes, it costs tens of millions of dollars, but do you remember what it was like to pop open Plato? I mean, it gives you this kind of Proustian moment. And so he's complicated to think about, and it expresses, I think, a lot of the complications of money and New York, and that moment, which was, gee, we're having a wonderful time, and there is something good about living this way, but it is all about money, isn't it? I mean, so there's a conversation there, and I do think that he kind of exemplifies it the best.
Absolutely. Can you say a little bit about the relationship of, you know, of the AIDS epidemic in the 80s and the culture wars, and, you know, the effect of crisis on the art community at that point, and the, you know, devastating loss of life and repression. And, you know, and one of the artists you, I think, is kind of a shadow hero in this, a great as David Wojnarowicz. We had the great photograph or photo collage of the bison falling off the edge. And to me, that's one of the great metaphors in your book as a whole. It's that kind of combination of free falling and optimism and American dream and all of that. But
well,
it's an important part of your book.
Well, you know, so many of the things we're talking about now that we think of as, you know, the kind of culture issues we're talking about, we were having horrible bloody battles about in the 80s and 90s. They were daily talk, and he was very much at the kind of cutting edge of that, because he was so gay, because he was so graphic in so many ways, that the right and the Jesse Helms of the world really latched on to his work, and he was very outspoken about the city and kind of federal and archdiocese ignorance to what was going on with AIDS. So he became kind of the leading edge of that in pushing back against it. But, you know, the Whitney 93 biennial is a kind of benchmark, I think, for arts at that point, and still now. I mean, it was not pleasant. The art wasn't meant to be pleasant. It was meant to be controversial.
As Michael Kimmelman wrote in the opening line, in short, I hate it.
Right.
I didn't forget. I was there. I didn't curate it, but I was there.
You know, Thelma Goldman and Elizabeth Sussman really put together this show that came out of AIDS, that came out of the trauma of AIDS, that came out of new discussions about feminism and the female gaze, the male gaze, all these things that we're kind of talking around now, were absolutely being talked about. Multiculturalism, the body, blood, all these very unattractive things were coming out. And it was explosive and controversial, and started to give us a language that we still use now. That catalog is, I think, a real, you know, you look back there and it could have been published yesterday, because the ideas in there are still fresh and we're still talking about them. So in an artistic way, that is, you know, to me, it was Times Square show to 93, because that is the next place where it leaps out. In the art world under Giuliani after that, we end up with slightly better conditions. We kind of go back into the past a little bit, and the next biennial kind of, you know, is a quieter, kinder affair from what there was. But I think the bomb went off in 93, and we never put the pieces together again after that.
Yeah, and you know, you put it in the section of your book. It's called "The End of One Tribe Nation" and decentering the whole. And you quote Jerry Saltz as saying, it was the moment in which today's art world was born.
Well, I think, you know, in a lot of what happens, one of the things that I think happens is in the city in general, and this biennial kind of explains part of that, is that idea of progress in art, that kind of capitalist middle class. And now there's a little avant-garde running ahead and doing things that suddenly is going to be mainstream. And they're going to scamper ahead and do more, you know, and that's kind of blown up. It's blown up by, in part, this moment of the culture wars where we start to really look aside. We start to look horizontally for anything that would even be remotely progress. We look for other stories. We're not looking to achieve, we're looking to explore. And so now we move horizontally, and that happens around the same time as technology and computers start to happen. And we start to explore the world in a very different way. And we end up kind of much more atomized.
Yes.
But that kind of, that idea of there being a monoculture that marches ahead really begins to blow apart in very tangible ways for us all. And so in that sense, what Saltz is talking about, I think it's a, you know, it's not exactly the moment, but it's exemplify of that moment where that's happening, I think.
No, I think that's exactly right. And I would argue, I agree with Jerry Saltz in that I look at the program and the art in the museums today in the art world, and I think a lot of it can trace itself back to that, and some of the shows also at the new museum that really just opened up new paradigms and said, hey, it's not just white male painters that are what the art world is. That's not that it's unimportant, but that's not necessarily the only thing.
Right.
But and actually in that regard, can you talk a little bit about what has always been referred to by people like Trey Ellis as the new Black aesthetic that came out of that period, that involved connected people like Fab Five Freddy, Spike Lee, Lorna Simpson, Chris Rock, and others.
Well, I think one of the things I wanted to do was also kind of continue, if I'm going to include, I wanted to also find Black intelligentsia that's happening in New York. The Upper West Side in the 70s and 80s, you had Miles was here, Maya Angelou is a very, very fertile place that we don't really locate. And when we talk about Brooklyn, we certainly talk about people moving to Williamsburg and Greenpoint. But the other really important growth in Brooklyn was around Fort Greene, where you had in the late 80s with Spike Lee and Lorna Simpson and Chris Rock and all kinds of African-Americans, younger Afro-Americans moving there and beginning to assert themselves in their own way. There is no Black monoculture. And I think this was a very clear expression of that and a very important one. So I wanted to make sure that when we talk about these different locations and these different times, that I tried to be, and I as inclusive as possible in locating people there.
And that was very much reiterated in Thelma Golden's show, The Black Male at the
Exactly.
Whitney, too, about kind of the diversity of diversity.
Right. Well, and you're also having the first hip hop studies are happening around this time of serious academic level. So how the city does become diverse is, I think, another theme of the book. The arrival of, during these years, more than 3 million immigrants come through the city. And about 1.5 million of them stay, which is about the population of Philadelphia or something. I mean, they have really not just added economically to the city, but the culture that was added to the city, where suddenly now there were people who, Haitian show bands come and play in New York. There's all kinds of, the world just expanded in such a broader way culturally that, again, when we talk about the kind of the banquet of culture that we had in New York, it grew so much wider than just, here's what's in New York Magazine this week. Here's the thing. There was no longer what's the movie to see this week. It became this thing that you could no longer wrap your head around. And it was disconcerting for many people when you read the kind of John Simons of the world as critics. They are blown away and kind of made nervous by just the volume of what comes at them that they're suddenly discovering just in New York.
Right. And it's really reiterated, especially now in this period with Netflix and Amazon and everything, that, we have a cultural garden that's, goes from, orchids and cactuses to daisies and pachysandra all in, in the same evening. But let's go back to philanthropy for a second, because that also is, gets diversified too, because in the 1980s, I think you refer to it as philanthropy as the glue that binds high society to Bloomberg, that binds high society.
Right.
But then when you get to Bloomberg's period, there was a quote that you said that where I think one of Bloomberg's staff said something that philanthropy to Bloomberg was a form of patriotism. And that's a really big difference in a way.
Right. And look, I mean, I kind of touched on that where Koch was sort of, to him, that was let them pay the money for that stuff. That's fine, because it's kind of, they're mostly the ones who are doing it anyway. But philanthropy tends to pay for the things that the upper class wants to have for themselves, the arts, the opera, these kinds of things that they want to make sure continue to exist, and hopefully open them up to other people. But that was always, and it was the binding glue of, you're on my board. Oh, now you can be on my board. Well, let's see if he'll be on the board. And eventually, once they started to ask, maybe she could be on the board. But it was very much about connecting people into other networks of soft power and exchanging money. But it was really about that exchange of power, I think. And Bloomberg was such a master, and I think continues to be such a master of connecting, of being, through his philanthropy, of being very generative and being helpful and creative in so many ways, but also building a sense of obligation to him through that he built. And so the city did not work the way it had under Giuliani or under a Koch, where there was the kind of regular political channels you went through. Philanthropy was now a channel you went through. The mayor's fund, this is not art, but the mayor's fund was a way that you curried favor. And you can't really cavil about it, because
the mayor fund was where private citizens gave money to this fund to help support certain social causes.
It was like basically a general fund that was paying for dentists, for kids who couldn't go to, it was really money that was going to not just art programs, but city programs, to really actually positive things. So in that sense, there was, I think, a valid attempt to use philanthropy in a more generative way. But look, along the way, there is that whole sense of it gets lost, is that it becomes very much what it always was an ego thing, but there was a sense of responsibility attached to it, as opposed to just creating the language of writing, as someone, I think it was Jim Dwyer called it, the new graffiti of having your name written on the outside of a building. So, there are buildings that are now defaced with names of people who are just there because it's their name, and so I think philanthropy has always been about ego, but its tether of really, how much do I owe as a citizen of this place and a participant in this culture? What do I owe as a person who can do this? And it's more signaling now as to what you possibly owe me for doing this thing for you.
Yeah. So a couple more questions, and then I'll open it up to the audience for a few words, and then one is, it's interesting. I think that Christo's The Gates, and how that starts back in the Koch administration, and its odyssey as it gets, it doesn't get realized until many years later. I think kind of shifts. It's about the shifting attitudes towards the public, towards sculpture, towards contemporary art. And I'd love if you could just kind of trace the iterations of the Gates to what finally happens, and also the differences of how it was structured too.
Well, it's one, it is one of the other kind of art themes, along with the various biennials over the years, because it's the park is still in really bad shape. When it's first introduced, the idea is floated, and it's when Gordon Davis is the parks commissioner. And they've just started to get things back, just started to get things going in Central Park and starting to care for it. And they have this long plan for what's going to happen. And Christo presents this idea to put these large kind of arches with a big sheet of kind of saffron fabric of some kind. And he thinks a lot about it. There's a huge amount of kind of corporate and philanthropic support, a lot of public support for it. And so he mulls it over, and he writes, what comes out of it is this report on why he's going to turn down the application. That basically comes down to the park itself is the work of art, and so adding works of art to Central Park is, we're not there yet, because also the work itself was going to be much more destructive to the park.
Right.
It would have involved drilling into the ground. It would be much heavier pieces of metal. It was going to be a harder thing. So,
and I should interject, because I think, people who don't remember Gordon Davis. Gordon Davis is
Right.
a tremendous supporter of arts and culture and always has
Absolutely.
been, and is also one of the heroes of your book. And it might be mistook that maybe, you
Oh,
know,
right,
that
right.
he was anti and not, and
No, because that's why it's such a long, fascinating piece, is because he really, like, he would very much like to do this thing. He was
exactly.
very much someone who comes from arts. He wants to support the arts. I mean, that's not, it's not a kind of, oh, you know,
Right.
and so it's a kind of, you know, not tortured, but it's a very complex kind of reasoning where he says we just aren't ready for this. And he does it in a way, it's like, it's what happens. We're not ready for this. And
He was probably right. You know, I
And
mean,
he was.
there was no grass in Central Park until Gordon got there. I mean, it was
right, exactly.
basically one big mud pit. I
Mud pit,
remember.
mud pit. And so under Giuliani, Bloomberg is now philanthropic, and he is now a great art collector, friends with Christo, and they try another run under Giuliani, and that does not, again, go anywhere. It gets shot down. But very quickly when he comes in, Patty Harris and Adrian Benepe, there's a great, let's do this now. We can do this thing. And the fact is that the technology had changed enough so that it was able to be done with much less violence to the park. And, you know, I was skeptical, I'll be honest. And then I went, and they picked February.
Weren't we all? But it was
You know,
quite
exactly.
marvelous.
And then I went out there and it's like, wow, you know,
Pretty
this is-
great.
This is kind of great. I get it now, you know. And it worked out, you know, and Christo's idea that it would all be paid for through selling pieces of it and selling artworks that were related was, again, a very Bloomberg kind of idea, which I think was a bit of a leap in 1980 or 81.
And in a different way, it was sort of a return to the notion of commonplace civilization and civic discourse too, in the sense that, you know, it was participatory and there was tremendous number of people who came from outside of Manhattan
Right.
to see this. It was something that everybody, and it was from tip to toe of Central Park,
That's what I was
not
gonna
just
say.
in Midtown.
Exactly, that it was extended all the way up so people in Harlem could enjoy and participate in it. It was intentionally very much a bring everyone into
Exactly.
the space kind of thing.
So two more kind of interrelated. First is, you know, is objective in quotes that one tries to be, and, you know, writing this and, you know, having a little bit of distance from it. You and I being the same generation, I have to say, I see certain and you know, generational biases that actually about the story. And I'd be curious if you would be a little more explicit about maybe
Sure.
a couple of your biases as you
Right.
think about this.
I am the very tail end of the baby boom. Like, I get to switch off the lights on a whole bunch of things as I keep getting older. Like, well, that's the last we see of that, you know. I was born in 1962, so it's kind of, I'm always that guy. You know, and I think in a lot of ways, this is the story, not intentionally, but it ends up being a kind of a story of that generation in New York and what they did to it, you know, good and bad. Because I think, you know, my kids are both in their 20s, and the idea of what they think of that generation as being, they don't really take into account the idea that when the stock market took off in the 80s, it was seen by many people of that generation as their last chance. You know, the 60s had happened, Vietnam, Watergate, the oil crisis, things seemed to be really down the toilet. And there was a sense that you weren't going to, this was going to be the first generation that didn't do as well as their parents, who were the war generation, the greatest generation, right? And so there was a certain amount of jumping into money in a kind of desperation, that this was your chance to do it. And it went from desperation to becoming a way of life, unfortunately. And there was a great hopefulness that they brought to it I guess I have to accept that I was a yuppie, though it was a word that, you know, but, you know, there was a lot that was brought to the table here. There was an energy and a hopefulness and a sense that maybe cities are good places to live. Unfortunately, that culture pushed out too much. It went beyond filling up open spaces into pushing out people who were already there. And that's the legacy that we have to deal with the generation coming up now, who in a purely investment model, who want to see the arts in a much more community-based way, that they're looking at race in different ways than even we did in our best, you know, intentions. And so I think this part of this fourth evolution is going to be very much the story of the next generation coming in.
Perfect. I'm going to jump over. I know we have a few questions, and then I'll close it up. And for those of you who are want to hang on a little bit afterwards, we're going to review the slide show that's about 7 minutes long. That really is pretty terrific. That serves as the background. So if you missed it, it's really worth hanging on for. So you want to go to the first questions? Emma, are you going to bring them? Who's bringing them forward? Or am I doing that? I am, I guess. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. I first listened to your Chicago book, and I'm now reading New York, New York, New York. I'm a Black man from Queens, but I've lived in Hyde Park, Chicago for 40 years. Racism seems a constant companion in both books. Comments and many, many thanks. Thank you for that great question.
Thank you. Well, I mean, it's very intentional. I mean, I certainly growing up in Chicago in the 60s and 70s, race was at the core of the place. You know, I still remember when Dr. King's Poor People's March came into our neighborhood, and many of my neighbors were lining the streets, you know, so it's been something that I wanted to, certainly in the first book, in the Chicago book, write a book that was about Chicago that didn't kind of calve off Black Chicago as a separate world. And so in the New York book, I was very resolved to try to do something similar, you know, not that it's never been tried before, but to try to recapture a city that looked at hip hop as part of what the city is, not as some sideline, you know, odd thing. It's part of the city's culture. And so, yeah, thank you for that. It's very much a conscious thing I try to do.
Some really great questions here. At the beginning, you went from Koch to Giuliani. Does your book address David Dinkins, the first Black mayor of New York City, which it
Absolutely.
does?
Yeah.
And the ways, though, that he was disrespected by the elite and the police?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, he was going back and reading magazines and newspapers from that era is just jaw-dropping, you know, where he's compared to Babar and things like that. It's just remarkable. He did himself no great favors. He could take his dignity, which I think he felt he owed to the Black community. He understood the gravity of his position, and I think stood on that. And he was never able to find a kind of place of meeting with a lot of the press. But he was basically asked to atone and explain everything that happened in the city. Certainly anything that happened with crime was, well, you should be able to figure this out. And he was unfairly burdened, I think, with those kinds of expectations. Unfortunately, out of all that kind of gang of four in Harlem, he was the one who was least expected to be in the job of being mayor, and probably least prepared and least interested to do it. And so in that way, his good intentions, which were very good indeed, I think hit the shoals of racism and a lot of doubts about him.
Although one of the things you know that I learned from the book, which I didn't realize, is how much good he actually did. And New York is a very, you know, it's such a complex place that one term as mayor, it's hard to make real progress. And then Giuliani reaped a lot of the things that actually Dinkins put in place, and Giuliani got a lot of credit for things that Dinkins didn't fully have a chance to realize, but absolutely set into motion.
Right. I mean, Dinkins got slammed with peak AIDS, peak crack, peak crime, and literally crime began to fall the moment he entered office.
Right. Exactly.
It's falling very gradually, but
it's happening
to drop, and for a lot of different reasons. But there's the horrible murder of Brian Watkins during the US Open, and there's that whole Dave Do Something headline, and he puts through the Safe Streets, Safe Kids law, I think, that puts a huge amount of money into the police, hires many more police, starts after school programs. And that really is a major reason why crime, you know, among the many, a major reason why crime drops in New York. He makes the best, Norm Steisel, his deputy mayor, makes a remarkable deal for the US Open, that it's the only deal that actually makes money for the city. Every other stadium deal is basically a giveaway. That one made money.
Right. And I think it's, you know, it's bias in and of itself, obviously, where he is not given credit, you know, for many of the things that actually come out of that.
Yeah, I mean, they come there were certain things, Times Square, before I forget, another thing that was teed up. The deal is signed with Disney. The great work that Rebecca Robertson did on putting that together has already happened. All the work with Tibor Kalman, I mean, that's going on already.
Exactly.
And basically Giuliani gets to walk in and say, hey, look what I brought you, and it was happening already.
One thing we didn't have much of a chance to discuss that somebody brought up, and it is, I think, an important part of the book, is I'd love to hear more about your research into New York's Latinx populations and their influence on the culture of the city, as this group has been so understudied historically, which thank you for that question, because I agree. And but it is quite present in the book.
It is, I mean, one of the ways I think it's most, for me, it kind of expressed is through housing and community development. That's a place where I found it to be kind of easiest. I mean, the other great one is, of course, there is a major role for the Latin population in the rise of hip hop. Breakdancing comes back, it's already kind of dead, and it's the Latin American population on the Upper West Side that's been pushed up by Lincoln Center that kind of revives it and puts it in there. But the people like Yolanda Garcia in the Bronx, who was really the person behind Melrose Commons, is, to me, has a cameo. I wish I had many, many more pages to talk more about her, because I think she was remarkable. But that is a place I wanted to highlight, because I think that that community has shown a lot of resilience and a lot of strength in navigating real estate and trying to take control and some kind of personal command of their housing.
And one last question, which I'm going to sort of combine with my own little tag phrase at the end, and that is, I'm entirely engaged with your book. Thank you. Appreciate it immensely, and would very much like to have a description of your research into such a myriad of historic and current realities. I mean, and it's true, the vast number of things that you synthesize in the most readable book it's astonishing, Tom. So if you could share that, and then my little coda to that is, are you optimistic about New York, given the not such a great place that we're in now? So start first, if you would, about your research.
I do, a whole lot of books, a lot of interviews, a lot of reading periodicals from the time, just to be able to capture the details of what's going on. So it's not just about what's exactly happening, but it's also about what people are wearing and what movies are out that week and what is the music out there. I mean, to kind of capture the world of it. I really wanted to go back and that's why it took 8 years, was just to immerse myself in a lot of that. Watch a lot of television. No, I didn't do that. So it really was, I wanted to get those intersections and not just kind of treat these things individually. And so I created maybe an 8-foot long timeline that everything gets plotted onto in a kind of Ward Shelley way, where it's this big moving plot line. And then over that, I have an overlay of what the chapters of the books are, and kind of carving the themes out of what's on that, which, if you hold on for a moment, I had it earlier.
Oh, beautiful. Hey, you got a future in art.
A lot of detail, and just trying to really create something out of that. I mean, I really did think in terms of painting and creating a kind of panorama.
Yeah, it's a fabric. I mean, that's what's amazing. It's just the interweaving and the word network in so many ways, and networks which go through the whole.
Right. So optimism.
Yes. How are you feeling about New York? It's a pretty crappy moment, all right?
I think the mayoral election will be exciting and interesting, to say the very least. But I am, we're asking questions, the kinds of questions. If this book would have come out 3 years ago, no one was really willing to entertain the discussions that I was hoping to start in a certain way. No one was really willing to question certain fundamental things about money, Occupy, financial crisis. We were still like, is there anything other than just making more money and getting more tax revenue? Is there any other equation? And I think we're at a place where we're willing to ask questions. We're asking questions about how we work. We're asking questions about how we want to live. And I think that's a really, really good thing. And it's not necessarily going to be pleasant, but I will take away my last thought is a great thought of Richard Sennett that kind of underlined a lot of my thinking here was, when we talk about community, we too often talk about the affinities we have. We stress the things we have in common. Oh, here's what we all have in common. And the reality is a really strong community looks at the differences and is not afraid of the differences and addresses them and builds from that. And so I think this is a moment, God knows there are differences, but I think more than we have been for decades, I think we're willing to start to address some of those things and have some really ugly conversations that lead us someplace better.
So I will just say, if you'd been a child of the 60s and you were Jerry Rubin, the title of your book would have been Steal This Book, but we're now in this, buy this book. And I just want to say, it really is a wonderful read. And
Thank you,
I
Adam.
feel so much smarter about New York and, being a New Yorker, not, there's so much you sort of think you understand just because you live in the city and you walk through the city and you read the newspaper, but somehow you make all these things come together in a way that actually gives some sense of at least meaning and sense of cycles and actually the hopefulness. And so I want to thank you for doing this, Tom.
Thank you.
And I want to thank everybody who was on tonight for being here with us, and look forward to seeing you at the Whitney and with New York, New York under your arms. So anyway, take good care. Have a good evening. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Get funky in the place. Get funky in the place. This pathetic dope addicts have to be abused. It's a shame, what a thing to be a prostitute. Life is given to us just to do the right thing. Instead of that, we came a whole wall with big dope fiend. Makes you feel real bad every time I see another bum or a brother sleeping on the street. In the corner, in the morning, every night and day. It's a pity, so many people try to act gay. Everybody's turning crazy, so you better believe to do the right things, all soon you'll see. Life ain't no more a joke, it's a serious thing when you're dealing with the answers that you can't explain. New York City is a place of mysteries. Drug addicts, dope dealers taking over the street. That bears always saying, why the hell do we pay for what? Well, they break the laws and get a couple of days. No sense trying to help, it's really no use. Think the world's messing up, let me tell you the truth. Hard rocks trying to pop with no respect. Niggas waiting at the station for the big paycheck. Homeboys going vacant on Thursday night. Girls waiting in the house for Mr. Right. Kids going to school just to be a fool. Never wanna learn to work just to go to our view. It's the funky beat, and it's the funky beat, and it's the funk, and it's the funky beat. Yeah.
This is the mellow they call the rail, the rock, so with the rhythm that is shocking spell. When the shake up kick that wakes you up in the morning, gotta rate with the rhythm like a #1 groaning. MC quick, just to make your peanut butter. Shot with the rhythm, I'm a #1 undercover. Bring it up, just shake it up, rodeo. Bring it up, just shake it up, rodeo. I'm the melody down with the funky sound that can make you break with my diamond studded crown, just so making you dip like a little bit of dive, like a practice, so making you high. Rock on to the break of dawn, just freak out, yeah, baby, just freak out, yeah, baby. Like a little jelly bean, I'm a sweet like a candy cane to make you get down. This is #1 stain on the train, just moving like a stage yard, just bring it up, yeah. Stage yard, like a roller coaster ride, that can make you bump. Just grooving with the rhythm as you shake your rump. You got the rock, you don't stop. The baby, yo, you got it now, rocker, you don't stop. Just hip hop today, damn doobie-doo. Yeah, Scooby-Doo, what you wanna do, crew? Just freak out, yeah, baby. Just freak up, yeah, baby. Drink it up here, I don't mind, dear. I can rock you out this atmosphere like a gangster prankster. #1 bankster got the much cash to make you think you rock on until the break of dawn, break of dawn. Keep it on. I know ZZ that can rock quick. I like the iconoclast, patch your rhythm to the stick. Just rock on like a finger lick. Finger a poppin', hop poppin', don't stop. Bunny rock, you don't stop. That long fingernail at the end of my tip of my pinky cocaine, make it slip on my lip. Just make you freak when the panty wetty with flip. Rock a little pat to the dapple, making my hip shake, shake, rock, body rock, a hip and a hop. Like a RPMs, my nose don't care about the rhythm that breaks, because the music is down there when your body wants to shake. Got a hip hop a there, baby dog, get down, let the rock, just shock your tone, just break it up, shake it up, yeah baby, cause the groove just rocks like a little shady, just shade it up with the classes, or make it on with the serious pattern. Get the melody quick, yep, the melody sound, now to rock it quick, with the #1 crowd. I can get up on the groove that make you shake down, cause the beat from the depths of hell make you get down. Rock on to the beat, freak it on with that kid unique. You just check it out, check it out. I said I broke into a Dustville, yeah, and then I shot across top of how I went to chill, yeah, break it up, Cyrus Hill, shake it up with the writings on the wall. So don't give a fuck, get down it up, rock on, you don't stop, jam it up, rock on, you don't stop. The beat boys, rock on, you don't stop, freak it on, break down, don't stop. From the depths of hell, rock well, Romeo, rock on to the beat. Yeah, candy cane, get your neck, rock it out. Sweet, cause I'm a jam up, hip hop, I'm making the tip top. Shake on the break down the needle of the eye, and grooving with the rhythm of a break of the sky. Rock
Deeper
on.
in the halls, drinking OE brew. Never wanna go to school when that's a fact. So all of a sudden you got left back. Now you're feeling real low and mighty hurt, and your friends are snapping on you like you're a jerk. Now things are hard and you're feeling depressed, and your mind can't function cause you can't pass the test. You're saying to yourself, what can I do? I can't go home, I might as well quit school. Jobs are hard to find, everybody knows, and you can't do crime cause you're on parole. No education is a big disgrace, and so you might as well work at the sanitation. Can you get my drift? Get funky in the place.
I know the man that gets with the deal, that rocks like a brimster, acts real. He can get real ill when you're on the chill. I like the quarter drop a dime that can make it
Say
get the
what?
thrill. Master killer called the evil gorilla, yes, the best in the nation, yeah, #1 thriller. I'm the best cut, I'm rocking with the duck, making with the conceal. A shock, you don't quit, you don't quit.
Say what?
Rockin', don't stop the bebop, the rockin'. You don't quit, turn it up, y'all. With the serious shit, you're shaking on, rockin' on and on, break it on, keep it on, break it on.
Get on.
Get on,
Get on.
get up,
Get up.
I like a rodeo, big duck. I like a DD to hop in with the BP, king on the mic. I like a mic controller, seeking on the freak. I like a little deep. You rockin' hard with Kid Judy. I like this show, Patty Duga. Don't stop, Patty Duga play down, now hitting the top. I bring a rock, grandmaster hip and showing the shocking out. Check it out, you don't stop.
Get funky in the place. Get funky in the place. What? All the time that you spent hanging out with your friends, you never took the effort to see what's happening. Crime, can't get it off my mind, cause it's a thing we have to face all the damn time. People always say, why do they break the laws? I'm gonna tell you right now, it's cause of all of y'all. Fast and go like your bowl, I'm gonna let it be told. It doesn't matter to a D if you're young or old. Just money they want and they need it bad. And to take another person life, it makes them feel glad. So rock to the funky beat. Yeah, ain't another that you heard yet. Rockin' better on the radio set. And if you did, please tell me now. All the others rockin' better in town. Had to say, don't front on me. And if you do, it's only jealousy. All the ladies, T-Money. All the homeboys, T-Money. Money making, rock on it. Money making, rock on it. Boogie down in, rock on it. Room LC, rock on it.
You know the groove that can make you get down with the funky moves.
Say what?
Now when I get down to the funky check rock, you know, cause the rhythm just makes you bet you casual like a 3-chord Money. All I wanna do is just rock the beat, honey, and with the jam, double def. I re-manipulating on that beat. Grandmaster, make a move. Make you with the rhythm when I shoot to the boo boo. Rocking on like a tutti frutti boo boo. You know, when I went to school, I went to the depths of hell, to the darkest, deepest corner. Rocking all the women, shocking with the order. All the upper double def, a magical man. I like a dip star, prank star, deafin' with the damn, def jam, y'all. I like a beat boy making with the freak. A beat boy making with the freak. I shoot it up, yeah, shoot it up, y'all, yeah. Shoot it up, yeah, shoot it up, y'all, yeah. I'll break it down, yeah, baby. Break it down, yeah, baby. Slipping the dope, yeah, they're taking the yoke. I like a little old homeboy shooting with the choke, yeah, making with the sneaker, rocking like a easer. MC quick, just a number one pleaser. Shooting like an uptown pimp on the check. When I step out my ride, I can hit the deck. Rock on to the break of dawn. Rock on till the break of dawn. 728.
What's the move? Well, I was coming from school, it was 3 o'clock. Had the money in my pocket, broke to the last drop. I had no way of getting home. I was really messed up cause I was all alone. I felt real sick and very confused. And my heart was pumping fast, I think it was the booze. And my legs felt weak and I couldn't walk. Got my pains in my chest when I tried to talk. Said, oh God, it had to happen to me. Give me a chance to straighten up and get a J.O.B. Cause I'm a type of person who likes to play. And at the time I had a drink and got carried away. You know, everybody once made a mistake. It's not too late to straighten up, so give me a break. I go to church to do my work instead of being the jerk. As the doctor